What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated, two-division world champion, currently the WBC reigning middleweight world champion, superstar boxer Jermall Lions Only Charlo. He responds to undefeated two-time super middleweight WBC world champion Mexican superstar boxer David Benavidez constant call-outs. Jermall Charlo, he did a video in which it didn't get a lot of, good reviews, dare I say, when he stated that he's not a 168 pounder. He's not even a 160 pounder, but the David Benavidez fight could happen. David Benavidez stated that he wanted to fight Jermall Charlo in September after his March 13th showdown with Ronald Ellis. So he stated that if Jermall Charlo did an interview, if you don't know, and he stated that in this interview, he stated that he would knock out David Benavidez if he was to go to 168 because David Benavidez lack of defense and Jermall Charlo power and accuracy. He says he can't take what I'm dishing out for a full 12 rounds. So with that said, David Benavidez, he stated that if you about that life, let's make it happen in September after my March 13th showdown. Now, Jermall Charlo, he then stated that, he's not a 168 pounder. He's not a 160 pounder. He made a comment that David Benavidez, he's not fighting anybody under 25 and not vaccinated, right? So David Benavidez, he says, I'll get vaccinated and I'll be, 25 and older very, very soon. And he stated that next thing you want to know, you're going to want to see is my GED. That's what David Benavidez said. So now Jermall Charlo has finally responded, and Jermall Charlo says that he would definitely fight David Benavidez. He stated that everybody knows that he's not afraid of David Benavidez. He's not avoiding David Benavidez. He says, you can look at my track record. He says, look at my record overall. Do I look like I'm avoiding anybody? Okay. He said that if you believe that, then you're not being realistic. Okay. And he stated that, he'll fight David Benavidez. He says, make it happen in between at a catchweight. He said, I fought 31 people. If you don't know, Jermall Charlo is 31-0, 22 by way of knockout. He is 30 years of age, stands at 6 foot tall with a 74-inch arm reach. So he says that I fought 31 guys, okay? And you think that I'm avoiding one guy, you're not being realistic. So he says, I'm not a full 168 pounder, but we can meet somewhere in the middle and make it happen. So he says that also a showdown between himself and four-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer, who is currently the unified WBC, WBA super middleweight world champion, Saul Canelo Alvarez, is going to happen. He says, just be patient. That fight is going to happen. Well, the thing about that is we know it's not going to happen in 2021 unless it's the very end of 2021 because Canelo Alvarez already has a 3-fight plan already mapped out. February 27th, he's facing Anthony Yildirim. Then we know either May 8th or May 1st, he's going to be fighting Billy Joe Saunders in a unification bout. Billy Joe Saunders is a two-division champion who's the 168-pound WBO champion. And then he states that, and then Canelo Alvarez is looking to fight IBF undefeated world champion superstar boxer Caleb Plant in September, the second week in September, which is Mexican Independence Day weekend. So his 2021 is pretty much already booked and mapped out. Anthony Yildirim in February, Cinco de Mayo weekend, Billy Joe Saunders unification bout, and undisputed bout against Caleb Plant September, second week in September, which is Mexican Independence Day weekend. Now we know Canelo Alvarez, he did state that he would like to fight 4 times this year. So he possibly could face Jermall Charlo at the end of 2020, maybe in December. Canelo Alvarez is notorious for fighting in December as well. He just recently fought in December. So maybe he gets another fight in December should he be victorious, and go through unscathed. But with that said, Jermall Charlo, last time he fought was September 26th of 2020. So what is he going to do there moving forward? And then he was asked about, where's this fight going to take place? Is the fight going to take place at 160 or 168? And Jermall Charlo, he responded by saying, come on, now Canelo Alvarez can't make 160, right? So with that said, you're going to have to go to 168. So you may as well go ahead and start making a name for yourself at 168, because you're not going to fight Canelo Alvarez until at least December, because Billy Joe Saunders is waiting until May to fight him. He's not going to fight anybody and get upset. So his plans are not going to be altered, meaning that there's nothing going to stop him from fighting Billy Joe Saunders unless he loses to Avni Yildirim, and that's not going to happen. And I believe he's going to beat Billy Joe Saunders Cinco de Mayo weekend. And Caleb Plant already has a hand injury, so that means he's going to sit on the shelf and wait till September for a Canelo Alvarez fight. He's not going to fight anybody in between that, so there's no chance of him getting upset, derailed, and those plans, getting derailed. So he's going to fight him in September. So you need to stay active, because in September, you will have been out the ring for a year. So that means that you're going to fight Canelo Alvarez. That's going to have to be at 168. So there's no point in fighting David Benavidez at a catchweight in between that if you need to start getting yourself acclimated to a 168-pound division. Because Canelo Alvarez, once he becomes undisputed at 168, is not going to come down to 160 to face off against Jermall Charlo. If that was the case, he would have fought Jermall Charlo at 160 when he was the mandatory challenger, and he didn't take the opportunity. Or 154, he didn't take the opportunity to fight Jermall Charlo. So there's no way he's going to respond and fight Jermall Charlo after comfortably making 160 for the better part of 2 years and going up to 175. Canelo Alvarez is not going down to 160. So Jermall Charlo is going to have to fight Canelo Alvarez at 68. So when Jermall Charlo is saying, I'm not a 168-pounder, I'm barely a 160-pounder, well, that's a bit of a contradiction, because you're going to have to fight Canelo Alvarez, who you said that fight is going to happen at 168, because Canelo Alvarez is not coming down to 160. Okay, now he's not as big as David Benavidez. David Benavidez is 6'2", 6'3", with a 77-inch arm reach. He's some people think he's a 175-pounder, a light heavyweight, campaigning at super middle-weight. Okay, so he's definitely big, but Canelo Alvarez is a shorter guy. Canelo Alvarez is 5'8", with a 69-inch arm reach. Okay, so Canelo Alvarez 70-inch arm reach. Canelo Alvarez is not the biggest super middleweight, but he's very, very short, compact, and stocky. So with that said, Jermall Charlo may as well go ahead and vacate his WBC title at middleweight and go ahead and start campaigning and getting himself acclimated to 168 pounds and facing off against guys like, maybe his next fight should be Danny Jacobs, okay, at 168. They have a history. They have a storyline. Danny Jacobs is a big, he was a middleweight. Now he's a super middleweight at 168. So, it makes sense to go ahead, fight Danny Jacobs at 168. Then, fight David Benavidez in September. Okay, nobody's calling for Jermall Charlo to fight David Benavidez in his next fight. David Benavidez has a fight coming up in March against Ronald Ellis. So he's staying busy. Jermall Charlo needs to get acclimated to 168. So I believe it's the perfect scenario and perfect situation for him to go ahead and fight Danny Jacobs. Like I said, they have history. There's a storyline there. Everybody wanted to see that fight at one point in time. And it's still, seeing as though Danny Jacobs got his last victory over Gabe Rosado. A lot of people thought he lost the fight, but he didn't look his best. But he's still relevant. So that would be a huge fight for Jermall Charlo and Danny Jacobs. If you beat Danny Jacobs, then you go ahead and schedule your fight for David Benavidez in September. That would be a massive fight, okay? That would be the second biggest fight that Jermall Charlo could currently make outside of fighting Canelo Alvarez. So that would be a huge, huge fight for Jermall Charlo. And should he beat David Benavidez in September, well, guess what? You fighting in September. Canelo's fighting in September. You beat Danny Jacobs. You beat David Benavidez. Now, there's no reason for Canelo Alvarez not to fight you in December in the Undisputed Showdown. Now you get an opportunity to fight for Undisputed at 168. And now your track record speaks for itself. And there's no way that Canelo Alvarez could, validate a reason for not fighting you. Okay? So I believe the road to Canelo Alvarez, because he's not going to fight you in 2021 if you don't have any significant wins on your resume moving forward. The biggest wins in his career was Julian J. Rock Williams in his last fight against Sergey Derevyanchenko. And now he's saying that he's no longer interested in fighting two-time middleweight world champion, superstar boxer Gennady Triple G Golovkin. He says he has no interest in making that fight. And that's good because Gennady Golovkin has no interest in fighting Jermall Charlo either. So it only makes sense for him to go ahead and start to get himself acclimated to 168 pounds and go ahead, because Canelo Alvarez, like I said, is not coming down to 160. So to ask David Benavidez to fight at a catch weight in between 168 and 160, I'm assuming he's talking about 164. That would be directly in the middle. He comes down, that being David Benavidez, 4 pounds, and he goes up 4 pounds, okay? Now, the thing about this is we know that's not going to be your next fight. So fight Daniel Jacobs, who fought at 160 and now moved up to 168. So he's not a natural 168-pounder. David Benavidez is a natural 168-pounder, natural 175-pounder. So fight Danny Jacobs, who campaigned at middleweight, okay, and moved up recently to 68. He's not a natural 68-pounder. You make the weight, you see how you feel, you start to get comfortable at 168, and it's a history. It's a big fight. It's not just a tune-up fight. It's not a cherry pick, dare I say, right? This is a legitimate fight. It's a legitimate storyline. It's a big fight, and you get acclimated and comfortable with 168. But if you wait and you want to fight David Benavidez at between 168 and 160 at 64, well, then people are going to start to say that you're avoiding David Benavidez because there's simply no reasoning for that to take place. So he stated that Canelo Alvarez fight is going to happen, but it's not going to happen in 2021 if he doesn't fight any big names here, there, moving forward. So let's see how this unfolds. Unless Canelo Alvarez decides to have a change of heart and not fight Billy Joe Saunders or Caleb Plant, I don't see him fighting Jermall Charlo anytime soon, at least till 2022. And that means, what are you going to do during 2021? So let's see how this plays out and unfolds. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.